Portions of this show are recorded. Strap in and be prepared.
Room for error is much slimmer in basketball.
One player and it changes your entire team. It's not like that in football. It's just not.
It's not.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Coach Mark Waskowski, Noah Eagle, Melissa Lombardi, Kenyon Barnard, Jonathan Stewart.
Sharp opinions.
Dana Altman probably earned a pass for a down year after almost 20 years of what he's done for Oregon basketball.
And some smiles.
Guys, I was stuck in a car wash.
Sounds like an R. Kelly song.
It's not an R. Kelly song.
It's Danny Havel.
I can't remember, and I've been doing this for longer than you've been alive, which is really horrible that I have to say that, but it's the truth.
Justin Grossweiner.
It's like the saying in Alaska that you don't have to be faster
Than the bear.
You just have to be faster than your friend.
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Fox Sports Newport.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome. High atop the Delta Triad, the Crystal Palace, the Bigfoot Beverages Studios, broadcasting live on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. This is the fastest 60 minutes in sports. It's the Danny and Justin radio program. Thanks for lending us your ears for the next hours, friends. You can follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Danny and Justin. Also, wherever you pod, wherever platform you get your music and your podcast from, we're there. Danny and Justin, just search us. Like, subscribe. We might like you back if that's possible. There's a like button that we can send back to you. We will send it back to you because we are all encompassing. We are trying to take over the world one platform at a time. I'm back. I'm Danny. Call me Doc. Right over there is my tag team partner, Justin Grossreiner. They call him Baby J. What a boy.
Well, welcome back, first
you.
of all. It's been a weird week. No show Monday.
Right.
Me and Dom Tuesday.
Yep.
Steve and I yesterday.
Yep.
And now you're back. So
That's right. And I'm here.
Tomorrow's
I'm here tomorrow.
Friday. Like, how about that?
And we're racing into the weekend. In big bets tomorrow. On the program today, Stitchhead. Eric Sorenson is going to join us from D1 Baseball. He's had a up-close and personal view of Oregon State baseball, not yet Oregon, as our Ducks, the Ducks, not our Ducks, well, they're your Ducks as well, have moved up their start times today and tomorrow against Youngstown State, a 4-game set, and it will be 2:05 first pitches. So in just a few moments from now, the first pitch at PK, and then tomorrow the same thing. Obviously because of the weather, and it's going to get even more frigid,
Weathery.
as we go into the evening. So we'll talk a lot of baseball with Stitchhead, but there's lots of things to go around the horn. Of course, we'll have our Olympic update as there was some excitement today in Italy. We'll talk about that in the last part of the program, as well as Oregon women's softball is down at the Mary Nutter. We'll give you an update on their progression today. Lots of basketball around the region, including Oregon women taking on the Huskers, the dreaded Corn Huskers, tonight at Matt Knight Arena, 6 p.m. tip. Ducks are looking to end a 2-game slide. The Corn Huskers come into Thursday's game, that's tonight's game, having lost 5 straight and 8 of their last 10. In the standings, Oregon's 1 game up on Nebraska in the Big Ten. Oregon's 18-9. They've hung there after that tough loss against Washington on Sunday. Nebraska is 16-10 and 5-10. Ducks are looking to improve their home record to 12-4 overall and then 4-4 in conference play. What do you want to see out of the Oregon women tonight?
I want to see some consistency. No consistency last game.
Wildly inconsistent shooting-wise.
That last game against Washington
was just
one
an
of the
aberration.
weirdest games.
Yeah.
Weird game.
I mean, all of the big players, Katie Fiso and Ahisa Tute and such just had, you just say, an off-night shooting. And the thing is, Justin, you and I have watched this over and over again throughout the years. Sometimes you'll have a star player or a lead player. I don't want to say star player. A lead player have an off night, but then other people on the team pick them up. Mm-hmm. It's very rare that you have basically your top 3 players all have off nights.
Yeah, it almost never happens. But it's so weird just even looking at the box score of this game because first quarter, Washington 22, Oregon 9. Second quarter, Oregon 19 points, Washington 5 points. So you can't sit there and say there was nothing good in this game. They killed Washington an entire quarter with 5 points. So really, really weird game, obviously up in Seattle. So I think you got to just turn the page on that one. Obviously, there's been a lot of games like that where you kind of just have to learn your lessons. And this is another team in the Big Ten, it feels like, with Nebraska that they're nothing crazy. They're below Oregon in the Big Ten standings, but they're 16-10 overall. Like, this is a good team. The Big Ten is deep. Yeah. There's almost no gimmies in this conference. No. You've mentioned they lost 5 in a row. So it's going to be another test for them, but I like their chances, and I think there's a decent shot that they can win the last 4 of these games. And you always talk about getting those 20 wins. They're 18 right now. You probably need to win just 2 of these, but they're probably sitting in that 8-9 spot right now. That was the latest bracketology I saw on Tuesday, at least.
And we want to be the 8 instead of the 8 or 7. No, pardon me.
No,
you want to be the 9.
You don't want to be 8 or 9 because they play each other, and then they play the 1.
They play the 1.
And
so you want to be
Texas
7
bracket.
or 10.
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy how that works, right? But I think it's important for Oregon women's basketball to have a really nice stretch in these last 4 games.
Cornhuskers are 1-6 in true road games this season, so they've got that going against them. And by the way, when we were talking about that Washington game for Kelly Graves' squad, when we get the Big Kahuna back on next time, I want to ask him about how this team sometimes doesn't start flipping the light switch on until they get behind. Because they were down 15 points in the first quarter. And then they closed the first half against Washington on a 15-0 run. And they actually had the lead at the half 28-27.
Yeah, I believe they had the lead in the third quarter a little bit too, but they just could not hang on. And it was one of those games that the final score did not indicate how close it was at the end, I think.
But do you see what I'm saying, though? It doesn't
100%.
seem like this team all of a sudden gets the urgency until they look up at the scoreboard and they're down by 7 or 10 points.
Do you know what that feels like to me, Danny?
What?
A young team.
Well, there we go. So tonight, let's pack the Mac. MKA. That's what the new Mac. MKA. 6 p.m. tonight.
The Macaw.
The Macaw. We'll say it like that. I love that. Well, pack the Macaw. 6 p.m. tonight, Cornhuskers and the Ducks as Kelly Graves' squad looks to end that 2-game slide. By the way, Ducks have been no stranger to close games this season. They had a double overtime contest at Wisconsin. Just the second time this season the Ducks have gone to double overtime. They have also played 2 other extra periods against, of course, Michigan and then Illinois. So there we go. So we'll see what that shakes out. There is golf, by the way. Oregon men's and women's golf have already started their season. The Oregon women's golf team, of course, after that deep run, just 1 away from making the finals in the match play for the NCAA championship. They put together their best round of the week earlier this week in the Therese Hessian Regional Challenge, earned a top 5 finish in its first tournament at Palos Verdes Golf Club in California. Tong An finished 2 under. She's just a sophomore. Number 3 Ducks fired a 1 under 283 in the final round. UCLA won the team title at 8 under, followed by Texas, Texas A&M, and Florida. Oregon finished 4 strokes ahead of number 2 USC and number 18 South Carolina to secure 5th place. And they will return to action. They're going to have a little bit of a break. The Chevron Challenge in Humble, Texas will be the 23rd and 24th. So that's coming up, I believe. That's this weekend. And on the men's side, Aiden Kraft earned individual medalist honors at the Prestige. Today's final round was canceled in La Quinta, California, due to high winds. Kraft fired a 3 under 68, leading the field by 5 strokes after the first 2 rounds played. Third round was canceled. And so he won his second tournament of his career, finishing 5 under after 36 holes. Head coach Casey Martin said, "This event was great for us, and Aiden displayed a ton of maturity during brutal conditions yesterday. He played beautifully." Ducks men's are back in action. They will head to Bandon and play in the Bandon Dunes Championships, 3-day tournament beginning March 8th, so a little bit longer of a layoff for Casey Martin's squad. Oregon State women's basketball, and then I want to get to Mick Cronin. I know you and Goose talked about this. Oregon State women's basketball has 4 extremely important games for the WCC tournament seeding as they battle Portland. It's a game behind the Beavers for 4th in the WCC standings. And then Washington State, Beavers are a single game out of 1st and 2nd. Gonzaga lost to LMU, and they're tied with Santa Clara at 10-4. The Broncos, though, hold the tiebreaker over Oregon State. So they've got 6 p.m. start tonight at Gill against Portland, and then Saturday 1 p.m. at Gill against Washington State. Genevieve, Kennedy Schuler, Tiara Bolden are enjoying career years. They're one of 2 WCC teams, the Beavers are, that have 3 players averaging 12 points a game, and all 3 have scored at least 25 points once this season.
I like their chances. They had a nice win against Pacific over the weekend.
So I think this team, I don't know if they're necessarily, unfortunately, because the WCC in the grand scheme of things might not get the oomph from the NCAA tournament committee. So I think you got to finish either first or second in the regular season and then get to the championship game of the WCC tournament to get yourself kind of locked in to the NCAA tournament. I'm just talking reality here. And they've had a really nice season under Scott Rook, but again, some inconsistencies down the stretch. That Santa Clara loss stung.
Right.
So
the winner though gets an automatic berth though.
They do. The regular season champ, and then the
regular season does as well.
No, I don't think they're. No, the tournament champ is the only one that gets. No, but if you win the regular season championship, I think the NCAA tournament looked at that and goes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. First or second.
Is that what happened last year? Do you remember? Because it was.
I can't remember.
Because Oregon State obviously won.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast. Okay,
I can't remember who won the WCC regular season title in women's basketball last year.
The Danny and Justin radio program. Thanks for tuning in live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios. The Oregon Man Clinic's hotline at 541-343-5673. The old Stitchhead's going to make his first appearance from D1 Baseball, Eric Sorenson, in just a moment. We'll talk a lot of baseball. I want to talk to him as well about how or where the transfer portal has affected baseball. And is there a mitigation in players now taking a check from Major League Baseball because they can get paid to stay in college?
That's a good question.
Thank you. I just came up with that myself. So don't take that question from me. Let me ask it. You're normally the one that asks the smart questions. I'm trying to catch up with you.
I just want to do my job.
All right. So you and Goose talked about Mick Cronin the other day. Mick Cronin went ballistic. Again, this is not the first time in his career. This is not the first time this year. This is not the first time in the last 3 weeks Mick Cronin has gone off.
What was your thoughts in the student section chanting Booker's name?
I could give a rat's about the other team's student section.
I just meant overall the way that you...
I would like to give you a kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked.
Did you like
you should take it.
The preparation of the...
You really think I care about the other
No, I don't think you care about the other
Are you raising your voice at me?
No, I'm just...
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Come on, dude.
No reason.
Come on. Yes, you are. Everybody's standing here listening to you. Everybody. This is on camera. They can hear you. I answered the question. I could give a rat's about the other team's student section. I coach UCLA. I don't care about Michigan State students. I mean, who cares?
I think, okay.
Who cares, Danny?
I think, one, the question could have been phrased a little bit differently. Did the student section affect your team's play at all? In your estimation, did the student section affect the way that your team played? Instead of the way that was phrased. Okay, I'm not going to give any shade to Mick Cronin. He was being a jerk right there. And
he was not being the adult in the room.
He could have answered the question with that first comment and then next question. That could have been it. And then he calls out the reporter and then says, giving you kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked in my career. I guarantee you he's been asked worse questions. That was not an out of bounds question to ask because of the atmosphere and because of the actions that he displayed on the court by yanking a player off the floor and basically sending him to the locker room.
And it was a former Michigan State player
who had a ton of family there and such. So
it's like, how does this affect the game? Those things, emotions, affect the game. I think it's a legitimate question. I think
it could have been phrased a bit differently.
I guess it wasn't asked very specifically, I guess. Is that what your point is?
That's kind of my point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I also think that Mick Cronin was a baby. Like, there's no other way to put it. I think that you have to be the adult in the room. And one of the things that Goose and I talked about yesterday was that that's like the kind of thing you're never going to get from Dana Altman. He's always been the adult in the room. You're never going to get any sort of reaction like that.
A lot of coaches. I mean, Tom Izzo can get fired up. Mike Krzyzewski got fired up. Roy Williams got fired. Bill Self gets fired up. A lot of great coaches. Kelvin Sampson gets fired up.
But there's a difference between being fired up and that.
You don't call out somebody who's doing a job.
And he didn't raise his voice at him.
No. You can take him aside afterwards and say, and he duded him, by the way, as well in there. Dude. And it's just like, come on, let's show some professionalism.
We're all professionals here.
Right. Let's act like it. Everyone's just doing their job. You're trying to do your job, which is trying to win basketball games. And yeah, you got humbled by Michigan State. Michigan State's not the powerhouse it has been in the last few years. Michigan State's an up and down. You want to talk about up and down? We just talked about it a little bit ago. You want to talk about an up and down program right now? Michigan State's just like they're Jekyll and Hyde. You know what you get out of Tom Izzo. But they put it to UCLA. And this is not the first time UCLA got pounded a little bit. So I know Mick Cronin's probably frustrated, but don't take it out on a reporter.
It's also his job to go and answer questions.
That's right. He knows what his job is, his requirement. So if he wants to answer him with two syllables or whatever, he can do that. He's still there, and he answers the questions.
I think what you said was a good point, that he could have answered the question the first time the way he did, and it probably wouldn't have made a headline.
It would have made a little bit of a soundbite.
Right.
People would have thought, well, okay, fine. But then he drew it out, and he was taking out, it's called
he made it personal.
Well, and it's taking out his frustration on somebody else who had nothing to do with how his team played on the floor. So what I also just wanted to touch on real quick is the yanking of the one player who's obviously probably getting paid. And honestly, I don't have his name in front of me again. But it brought up this whole idea again of this question of college athletes being employees and being treated like employees. And if they're not performing on the floor, do you go to the extent of just saying, I know I'm not going to put you back in, so you might as well just go to the locker room? But you don't see, other people don't know what else was going on. If there was some other conversation or going on, and that player could have been a distraction if they were going to be sitting on the bench.
I guess then the only thing we can do is to compare this to a real-life workplace environment. If this was a kitchen and somebody did something that they weren't supposed to, is it the same thing as like sending them home or like, because it was embarrassing for him.
Yeah.
It was an embarrassment for this kid.
And I think that was a message that Mick Cronin was trying. I'm not going to get in Mick Cronin's head. My perception is that was the message Mick Cronin wanted to send, not just to that player, but to everybody on his team. So maybe there's some disarray that we're not aware of within the UCLA basketball program that Mick Cronin, as the leader of that program, needs to get under control. Right. Because that's a bad look all the way around.
But is that the same thing? Is it the same thing as sending your employee home because they made a mistake?
It is, but to do it, but it's different. I don't have cameras on me.
Because I think it's different too. Because of that.
Yeah, I don't have cameras on me at my workplace.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not going to be publicly embarrassed or shamed by that. There again, I just think it's about the delivery of the message that is tripping Mick Cronin up. Is he could have said, you're going to go sit at the end of the bench. You're not going to say a word. I'm not putting you back in the game. But to publicly make that display of basically escorting the player off the floor towards the locker room was, I don't know how that player necessarily comes back from that within this program.
Well, psychology is everything.
You know, and listen, wins and losses. Mick Cronin has been a rising star in college basketball. He grabbed this job at UCLA. Every other stop he's been at, he's been successful. He's been fairly successful at UCLA. But this is just a bad look. But it still goes back to that employee-employer relationship that I think is now giving coaches more, in some respects, more power to do things like this. I don't think it's necessarily a good look.
It is interesting, and I think that we have done a good job detailing these things, like we have for a lot of college sports.
And let's detail some more. College baseball next with the old Stitchhead, Eric Sorenson, on the Danny and Justin radio program. Hang around. Danny and Justin radio program rolls on for it's weekend eve already, a Thursday here. Thanks for tuning in. Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport, live from the Bigfoot Beverages Studios. Let's head on over to the Oregon Man Clinic's hotline at 541-343-5673. Welcome in our good friend. His first appearance on the program. He was a regular last baseball season, and so, you know what? We roped him back into it again. It's our good friend, the Stitchhead. You can follow him on Twitter, Stitch_head. And he is the great Eric Sorenson, who's got that 6'2" height with a 6'8" wingspan. So he could play goalie with the best of them. How you doing, boss?
That's it. Doing all right. It also helped me dunk a basketball in high school. So I'm kind of happy about that. It's one of my life's great accomplishments.
Did you ever windmill a dunk?
No, I mean, yeah, on an 8-foot goal, sure, but, not on a 10-foot. You just got your basic white boy one-hand slam dunk on from me on a 10-foot goal.
Oh, that's fantastic.
What about extension? Did it give you some good extension on your pitching?
Great extension on pitching. I'm better at Frisbee than I am baseball, though.
Okay.
Attaboy. All right. Well, let's dive into it. I mean, the busy time of the year now starts, and all the previews are done. Now that everybody starts to play each other. So I want to start with this because it's kind of an overreaching question, and it's one that's been sticking in my brain. So I don't know if I'm going to start you out with a tough one, Stitch, or not, but here we go. So the portal, everyone's talking about transfer portal and NIL money and such and how it affects certain sports. In baseball, it's kind of unique because where kids might have had the lure of going and signing a pro contract and leaving their team early because of $150,000, $200,000 signing bonus and start working, they're trying to work their way up. Isn't there more players you see staying in collegiate baseball because they can get paid to stay and play in college?
Oh, you mean as far as instead of going pro?
Yeah, instead of going pro.
Yeah. I think you see a little bit more of that in college baseball. Certainly because college baseball, if you're a good college player and you're not you can still be a good college player, not necessarily be a pro prospect. I think you see that a little bit more in our sport. A good solid guy that just plays, errorless ball or something like that, or just is a good glue guy for a team. Why not stick around and play another year of college instead of trying to, go on into the minors and try to make a team? And, you might not last that long if you're not that heralded of a prospect. So I think that's one of the few good things about this whole NIL era and the transfer portal era. One of the few good things about it is that, you get guys that stick around a little bit more, and the quality of the game goes up a little bit, I think, from that alone. So, I think that makes perfect sense.
Where's the strength in college baseball again this year? Is it still steeped in the SEC?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it certainly is. I mean, there's pockets of others, like the Big 12. I think they had 8 teams in the NCAA tournament last year. They're kind of, in line to do that again this year. The ACC arguably was probably better than the SEC 2 years ago, I thought. But they're always going to be good still. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately it goes to who has the most amount of money and who cares about it the most, and that's going to be the people in the SEC are always going to be good from now until the rest of our lives probably.
And the Big Ten, obviously not one of the major conferences in comparison in baseball and college baseball, but it feels like those teams out west that have come in, obviously UCLA, top-ranked team in the country, Oregon coming in very well regarded as well, and USC and Washington are also solid programs. How do you think they've kind of remade that conference now that we've gotten to see a year of it?
Oh, yeah. In fact, hell, you just look at this past opening weekend, Michigan State winning 2 of 3 at Louisville. Michigan, I saw them personally out there in Arizona, went 3-1. And Minnesota went unbeaten over the week. I think we're seeing these teams in the whatever you want to call it, the traditional Big Ten or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're starting to come around too. I think last year the West teams dominated, and that was kind of expected. I kind of expect them to do it again this year, especially with Oregon, UCLA, and USC. But I think this year, so far, I mean, it's a small sample, whatever. But yeah, I'm seeing Big Ten teams from the traditional footprint doing really well, and it's encouraging. I mean, Nebraska's going to be pretty good again too. I saw them as well this past weekend. I think the Big Ten in general is climbing a lot just in this, and we're seeing that already just in this first few days of the season.
Mm-hmm. Jumping from the Big Ten in Oregon to the other side of the pond with the Beavers, I know you got a chance to see the Beavers play a really good game against Stanford with a walk-off hit by Josh Proctor. What were your initial impressions of seeing the Beavers in person?
Well, it's kind of interesting because there wasn't a lot of offense in that game, and both Stanford and Oregon State, I think, are capable of putting up good-sized numbers. But, yeah, I was impressed with Eric Segura, the starter for Oregon State. And even the guys that came in after, Isaac Yeager and Wyatt Queen, got into a little trouble early and gave up the 2 runs for Stanford. But it was just kind of like, okay, well, I didn't see Dax Whitney pitch, but I'm seeing some pretty good pitching, besides him, which is encouraging for Oregon State. And I wasn't there for the walk-off home run on Monday by Bryce Hubbard, but I know that it was. Well, first of all, it's just an electric atmosphere. We could talk about the crowds I saw down there all day, but yeah, to see Bryce Hubbard, to see him on Twitter, so I saw the replay of that, and that was just exciting. So, yeah, I think it's just kind of another good Oregon State team again. I don't think there's going to be a whole bunch of fall-off from them this year.
Stitch head Eric Sorenson with us here on the Danny and Justin radio program from D1 Baseball. And, Eric, it's so interesting. You have 2 walk-off hits in a row, and I think that the identity of the team is something that it can be built. And you see teams sometimes, the early narrative becomes they can't get the big 2-out hit, they can't get that walk-off hit, and then some teams they do. And do you think that's the case, where if a team has some early success, that's something that can be built upon going forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, certainly. That's kind of the staple of our sport, it seems like sometimes. I know they say that momentum is tomorrow's starting pitcher, I guess, or whatever, but, you know, hitting is contagious. There's all these added, all these little sayings that we have.
Which we love.
But which we love, yeah, of course. But no, I project good things from, I mean, it was a good showing for Oregon State for the opening weekend. Good showing for Oregon, for that matter, too, as far as maybe not quite the competition that OSU faced, but they still came through solid. But yeah, this is going to be a hell of a season, I think, for both of those teams. Too bad they're not in the same conference and can't play each other, right?
Well, but they do get to play each other twice this season. One at PK Park, which is great. One at PK Park, and the other one they just added to the schedule in the middle of April up in Portland at the brand new Hop Stadium. Single A long season in Portland, so that should be a great matchup as well.
That should be outstanding.
That should. So let's talk about scheduling a little bit for both teams. So you just touched on it a little bit. Oregon State with a tough opening weekend down in Arizona, and now they turn around, head to Texas. Baylor, Southern Miss, Purdue on the docket, and then they stay down there for the Frisco College Baseball Classic, Houston, Alabama, Iowa, and then before they come back and take on Oregon. And then Oregon starts out with George Mason, Youngstown State, and then they play on the D1 Baseball TV stream, Arizona. There you go, little plug there for you. Arizona, UC Irvine, and Vanderbilt. So talk about early season scheduling. Can it be overthought, or do you want to see teams playing elite competition? Because there's a lot of schools of thought in this, Stitch.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Some teams, some coaches have different thoughts about it, because like Dave Esker at Stanford, when they got done with their weekend that went 2-2, had 2 losses on the last plays of games, but looks pretty good elsewhere. And he was like, we could have scheduled somebody and just gone 4-0, but that, in essence, he meant, a tomato can team that didn't give him any problems or any kind of challenge. He said, but we didn't want that. We wanted to challenge ourselves every weekend of the season. So kind of different philosophies as far as coaches, just in their thinking on scheduling. But I love what Oregon State has done the last few years, where they start off down there in Surprise, Arizona, and play really good teams. It just kind of gets the blood flowing a little bit early on. And, of course, Oregon State kind of has to schedule better early on because of their independent status, and some of the teams that they play later on aren't going to be as strong. So I'm glad they're doing this for the first 3 weekends. And Oregon, actually, I see that they played solid. They had no problems with George Mason, but they also just played clean. It wasn't that they, beat them by 1 or 2 runs. So, and I look forward to that. I'm actually going to be at that Vegas tournament against when they're playing Arizona, UC Irvine, and Vanderbilt. So I really look forward to that. So there's 2 different thoughts there, but I think it's out of necessity. Oregon State has to schedule a little bit tougher this time of year.
The great Stitchhead Eric Sorenson joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program as we wind through the beginning of this season. Oregon and Oregon State back on the diamond this weekend. Oregon at home against Youngstown State, while Oregon State is in Texas to take on Baylor, Southern Miss, and Purdue in the Round Rock Classic. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about off the field, on the field. And I say it that way is because Matt Flores, the new pitching coach at Oregon, as Blake Hawkinson heads to Oklahoma State. So would it be fair to say that the pitching coach is probably the second most important position on the bench beyond the head coach in a college baseball environment?
Yeah, most of the time that's the case. It's usually the pitching coach. Sometimes in the case of like John Savage at UCLA, he's his own pitching coach, so that kind of takes care of itself. But yeah, I mean, I know Matt Fleur. I've known the name. I've known him from being at San Diego for a number of years under Rich Hill, and got a good reputation. And I'll tell you this much, guys, I'm just kind of looking at the stat sheet. 3 of the starting pitchers did not give up a single earned run. So Matt Flower must be doing okay so far in Eugene. That's my point with him. But, yeah, he's got a good reputation about him. So I'm excited to see what he can do for Coach Wasikowski and that staff this year.
All right, I'm going to put a kid on your radar right now if you haven't already put him on your radar. Especially
Bring it.
All right, Angel Laya. He is a freshman, came out of the weekend, 7 of 13. He's batting .538, a 1.077 slugging percentage. He pounded a couple of home runs, 4 RBIs, a double as well in that. This kid, and he's got a glove as well. He can flash the leather. Put him on your radar for the University of Oregon.
I'm going to stump you a little bit.
Okay.
By the way, first off, I love the linebacker number he has, 53. I love that.
Absolutely.
But here, I'll stump you a little bit.
Okay.
I knew from Angel Laya, I knew of him, and I saw him play. They have this kind of high school all-star tournament every summer in Long Beach called the Area Code Games, where the best high school players from all around the country play for 6 days for scouts and college coaches. And I actually saw him play 2 years ago when he was in that before his senior year. So I did have him on my radar already, but yes, I did read that he had 2 home runs in one game. Yeah, this is a guy that comes in, and he's not weak in the knees. He's not wobbly at all as a first-year guy. So that's an impressive start. I hope he can keep it up. But yes, I was aware of what he did this past weekend and look forward to seeing more from him this year.
Eric, is there any story or player or team out there that, we're so early on in the season, we're kind of getting to know the landscape of college baseball. Is there something out there that you think that people really need to be paying attention to?
Well, first of all, I'm going to space on the dude's name, but there's the guy for Baylor, and Oregon State's about to play them this week. The guy for Baylor that hit 3 grand slams in one game.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Tying a national record that was set by Jim LaFountain of Louisville back in 1976.
Tice Armstrong.
Funny, I remember his name, but not Tice. That's the guy. That's him. Yeah. So that was coming out of the gate. That's a pretty good first story of college baseball. But yeah, that got off to a great start, and it'll be interesting to see how Oregon State handles him and the rest of Baylor. Baylor looks like a team that might be a bit of a surprise this year too. So, yeah, there's my early story for this college baseball season.
All right, he loves whiskey. He does not like anything that's superstitious, so he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind saying a guy's got a no-hitter into the 7th inning or 8th inning, and he is a college baseball junkie and addict. It's the great Eric Sorenson, Stitchhead. Thanks. It's a long season, buddy. We're going to be happy to have you along for the ride again this year. Really appreciate your insight and your dedication to this sport for everybody throughout the country.
Sure, man. I appreciate you right back, and let's talk again after I get the chance to see the Ducks here in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Take care, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There he goes, the great Stitchhead, Eric Sorenson. I mean, when you got a guy that you can just bounce stuff off of, I knew he probably knew who Angel Laya was. He knows everyone. All right, sorry, pardon me. I'm still working on this stuff. No, we are not. We'll wind up the show here. Might even bring in intern Dom into the old fun and frivolity. Olympic Minute as well.
Right.
All right, coming up on the Danny and Justin radio program. If you missed any of the interview with Eric Sorenson, otherwise known as Stitchhead, if you follow him on Twitter, Stitch, STITCH_head. It's a great follow, by the way, as is D1 Baseball, as he's a part of that, the organizing crew of that Bible for college baseball throughout the country. You can go back to the podcast, which is going to be uploaded in a little bit, as intern Dom his little fingers will just tap away, upload, download, edit, boom. It's up on the pod. You can follow us, Danny and Justin, on wherever you podcast. Thanks for tuning in, friends, here for a Thursday, my first show of the week, because we were off on Monday, and then you and Dom were doing things on Tuesday, and then you and Goose yesterday. Goose is going to be on Memorex tomorrow for Big Bets. He's not going to be live in the studio.
It's always unfortunate. We always enjoy a good Danny, Justin, and Mims.
So he asked me, he says, you want me to call in? Because he's going to the Newport Seafood and Wine Festival, which you just heard if you were listening to the program, and all of our friends out there on Fox Sports Newport. Hello. So he's heading out there to sample. He's taking Kim, his beautiful bride, who I still haven't met. So I still don't believe she's alive.
She's very lovely and very real.
Very lovely and very real. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of big bets, I sent this to you, but you apparently didn't get to it on Tuesday.
I didn't get to a lot of things on Tuesday. It was maybe the fastest 60 minutes we have ever had.
Okay. The fastest 60 minutes in a fast 60 minutes?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I prepared for an hour and 20-minute show.
Okay. So here's the thing, is that freaking Goose again goes 4-1. But so does intern Blaze. I went 2-3. You went 2-3.
I always go 2-3.
So we're now mired.
Have I gone 2-3 every single time?
You have. I had 3-2 week. Then I had that horrific 1-4 week, which pulled you even with me. Mm-hmm. So we're both languishing at 10-15. We're 5 games under the Mendoza line, the 500 line. Goose is sprinted out to an 18-7 record. He is
unbelievable.
He is 8 games in front of us. A lot of
ball
basketball
game
left. There are not zeros on the clock yet. But Chris, the listener, Steve Mims' best friend, Goose's best friend, who has a chair next to him at the Viking Inn in Junction City, he also went 4-1. So we had 3 people go 4-1. However, Blaze saves the day for the hosts as he picked 137 for the tiebreaker, total points between Michigan State and Wisconsin. So he won the tiebreaker. Chris had 133. Goose had 135. The total, what was the total? 163. Well, so he came closest.
And Chris?
Yeah.
Do you remember that he switched his pick?
He did.
Sorry, Chris. We remember.
And I picked 157, so I was actually the closest. You had 105 points, dude.
I know. Listen, I went with the traditional Big Ten basketball game. I went with the game that Oregon and Minnesota had a couple nights ago.
Let me update you on Oregon softball and Oregon baseball. They're playing right now at the Mary Nutter in Cathedral City, California. The Lady Ducks have lost their first game to Auburn 10-5. We'll give you a full recap on that game tomorrow. And right now in the top of the 5th, they're the home team against Texas A&M. It's all knotted up at 1-1. And was it Elon Butler who just hit a home run to tie it up for the Ducks' solo shot? And they're batting. Texas A&M is in the top of the 5th. Oregon men, now they moved up the start times for the series for today and tomorrow against Youngstown State. Oregon 4-1 in the bottom of the 2nd inning right now, as they move those first pitches up to 2:05 for today and tomorrow. So if you're planning on going out to PK tomorrow for the single set game against the Youngstown State, do you know the mascot?
Penguins. I looked this up.
You know what? You knew I was going to ask you, so
you
good
see the
on
smile
you.
on my face?
I didn't even ask you if you had looked it up, but I knew you had looked it up. The Youngstown State Penguins.
What a name.
They're in Ohio.
I know.
How many penguins do you see rolling around the streets in Ohio?
Do you know where in Ohio? Because I've lived in Ohio.
No. Didn't you look that up when you were looking up what their mascot was?
I did not. I just saw that they were in Ohio.
I'm pretty sure it's northern. I'm sure it's outside of the Cleveland area somewhere. Pretty sure.
Well, I was near Cincinnati, kind of near the Kentucky border.
Cincinnati?
No, that's where I was. So I'm not sure how close it was.
Side. Okay, so there we are. So we'll update those one more time maybe before the end of the show. By the way, big bets again tomorrow. I think we're going to have both Dom and Blaze in the studio, so both the interns will be picking. And Justin, you're picking the games this week, Baby J, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And I'm excited about it.
All right.
I'm going to hopefully get some home cooking.
We're watching the Olympics here in the studio from the Bigfoot Beverages studio on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. So let's do our Olympic update. All right. It was a big day for the U.S. of A. Women's hockey wins gold in overtime over Canada, 2-1. And here's how it sounded.
The outlet pass for Keller, a defenseman. Nice move. Cuts to the net. Score! Megan Keller, the overtime hero. The United States wins gold and belong.
Megan Keller with the overtime goals. She snuck it through the 5-hole, as they say. And the U.S. defeats Canada for gold. Canada takes silver. And these two teams have been going at it in the Olympics for many, many years and many years to come. It's the third Olympic gold for women's hockey. Women's curling made it to the semifinals. Men's hockey also into the semifinals. Is it? No, they play for gold. What am I talking about?
Gold.
Going for gold. The Olympic medal count looks like this. Actually, let me give you a little bit more. U.S. gave up the tying goal to Sweden with 91 seconds left in the quarterfinal game. They are in the semifinals. As U.S. beat Sweden 2-1. That was in hockey. Jordan Stoltz takes the 1,500 meters, but it's not gold. It's silver. He was going for his fourth Olympic gold medal. His streak ends. He finishes with 3 golds, 1 silver at the games. And here's the Olympic count. Norway with 16 golds, 34 overall medals. United States, 9 golds, 27 overall. Italy, 9 golds, 26 overall. France, 6 golds, 19 overall. And the Netherlands, 6 golds and 16 overall. And there's your Olympic update. Thanks, Dom. As we will continue with that through the Olympics, which I think run through this Sunday. So our last Olympic update on the air, well, we'll do one Monday to kind of recap the entire games, the Olympiad in Italy. So what else we got going on? We got tonight, we got basketball, Oregon women taking on Nebraska, 6 p.m. start at MKA, and it will be only the third time these two teams have met as, of course, Big Ten members. They've both won 1 game. The Ducks are 2-1 overall, though, against Nebraska, including 1-0 in Eugene. Oregon is going for their 26th win in the last 27 home games against unranked opponents, as Nebraska comes in to this at 16-10 and 5-10. And Justin, you and I talked in the first segment about what we want to see out of Kelly Graves' squad tonight. And for Oregon, to me, I would like to see a fast start. I would like to see Oregon jump out to a 12-6, 15-7 lead and then just kind of step on the gas a little bit more. There have been few games in the last month and a half, and you can correct me on this, Justin, few games in the last month and a half that I can remember where Oregon kind of raced out to a big lead and held on to it for the entirety of the rest of the game. They built a big lead against Illinois, let that one slip away, but they ended up with the win. They've had other leads in games, but they haven't seemed to be able to sustain and extend those. Am I wrong in that? Or
no, I think there's some truth to that. I think there's some truth to that for sure. And as I said in the first segment, it's a young team. I mean, it's a team that...
Keep forgetting that, don't we?
We do. And it's because they've had some big moments against good teams. They haven't quite pulled off some of those games, Michigan State.
This team could already be 20 wins right now. I know. They could.
I think it's a really good team. I think what they lack is that seasoning. Like, they just feel like they don't have quite the savviness that a veteran team will when they need a bucket and you somehow have that player that's going to go and get that bucket. You know, like they at times it seems like let emotions get I don't want to say get the best of them, but they're very momentum based, I guess is what I would say. They're streaky, and it seems like that happens even in games where they're hot or they're just completely cold, and that's what happened against Washington.
So we'll be keeping our eye on that. We'll obviously talk about that tomorrow on this program. By the way, as we end the 5th inning, Oregon and Texas A&M at the Mary Nutter softball. They're all tied up at 1. Bottom of the 3rd now, Oregon at the bat. It's 4-1 Ducks in that first game of a 4-game set against the Penguins of Youngstown State. Has anybody looked up where Youngstown State is?
It is in Youngstown, Ohio.
Okay,
surprise.
That just that tells me nothing. Give me another big landmark since I don't know where Youngstown, Ohio is.
It's
pardon me.
It's southeast of Cleveland.
I say closer to Cleveland. I think that's what I said.
It's in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Oh, southeast. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, you know who was
east of Akron?
You know who was the athletic director there for years and years?
No.
Another famous Ohioan, Jim Tressel.
Oh, I've heard of him.
After he left Ohio State, he was, and that's where Tressel came from when he went to Ohio State, was Youngstown State. And he won national championships there. And then he was the AD for a long time at Youngstown State. There you go. Nice little trivia question for you. Now, speaking of other things off the floor and off the field in college athletics, there's some more kerfuffle down in the state of Georgia. And the Bulldogs, I don't know if that's part of their recruiting deal is just like, if you got a lead foot, come to Georgia. Come to Athens because we will welcome you with open arms. The police department might not, but we will, because yet again, more players have been cited for basically reckless. I don't know if it's reckless driving was one of the official charges, but what was the
official charges are misdemeanor charges of speeding at maximum limits, and they didn't list all of them. It's just other traffic-related charges.
Can you stop right there for a second? I read that the first time, and it's like, what is the maximum limit? Like,
that makes
your
me
car
think
can't go any faster?
That's literally what I was thinking, is that you literally can't go any faster, which is unbelievable. How is there even a stretch of road that you can get to that speed? Besides being completely reckless, obviously, which is what happened.
But they don't list the
actual miles per hour
speed that they were.
I could not find an actual miles per hour.
So this is not an isolated incident. There have been, in fact, there was a fatal crash. It was just a few years ago involving some Georgia players, if I'm not mistaken. That in it, there was an off-the-field lawsuit. There was a lot of stuff flying around and alleged, kind of trying to keep it hush-hush.
As well. Yeah. There was a player kicked off the team because they had 2 misdemeanor counts of, it was not only just, it was him and his mother. They got basically arrested for 17 criminal charges, including 2 felonies, after fleeing the police at exceed speeds of 150 miles per hour.
Can we just say
how does this happen so much at one university? Well, I just don't. It doesn't make sense.
There's lack of accountability, it seems like, within the program. And again, that's where I just point right back. And I hate to keep pointing it back this way, but you don't hear about these things in Eugene. You don't hear about these things in Corvallis. Now, there was one off field that is still going through the process of a now former player for the University of Oregon.
Oregon and Oregon State are not infallible.
No, they're not. No, not perfect. But this is like multiple. Oh, I didn't hear the word of the week yet.
We had Mims yesterday, so it was, we didn't work it in. But infallible will be your word of the week for this week.
Okay, well, let's give it its rightful due, and let's do it right tomorrow. Okay. We got to. When I'm not
we didn't
here,
have a production meeting about this.
When I'm not here, would you guys please stay on schedule on what we're supposed to do? Thank you.
I promise.
See, Dom, I can chide my co-host too. That's all right. My partner.
Oh, he
here.
does.
So I guess the accountability portion of that is where I think the university administration needs to step in, and it starts with the football program. It starts with Kirby Smart.
It absolutely starts with Kirby Smart because he's the one that's making decisions there. And doesn't it just feel like there isn't any accountability if it's the same story year after year after year? I mean, we're talking all the way back to Jordan Davison. Or not Jordan Davison. Jordan Davis. Is that the defensive lineman for the Eagles? I think that's his name, yeah. So I don't want to throw Jordan Davison in this at all.
No,
outstanding young man.
Yes.
But it's been a trend for Georgia football for, it seems, 4 or 5 years now.
Are they just bored down there? Do they not know how to play video games?
I don't know. We know it wasn't Dan Lanning because he left and it's still going on.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, to be determined, see how it all shakes out for those 2 young men. Thank goodness that nobody got hurt.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
Why can't pigs play soccer?
Something about their feet, hooves, I don't know.
Can't pigs play soccer? Got anything?
I would go with the feet also. It's got to be the...
Nah, they hog the ball.
All right. I like it. It wasn't too obvious. They hog the ball. Maybe I should have gotten it.
Hog the ball.
Mims would have gotten it.
Well, because, I've got to cover stuff. I think Mims has very good eyesight. He can see some of these that are written here on the wall. I'm pretty sure he can.
He has better eyesight than I do.
Does he? What's your eyesight with your glasses on?
With my glasses on, not 20/20. I'll tell you that. It's more like 20/30. I don't know. Whichever the way that's bad.
Okay, what about with them off? Quickly.
Off? My prescription is like minus 250 or something like that. It's pretty bad.
That is pretty bad. Tomorrow on the program, Friday, Big Bets. Everyone's going to be here. It's going to be a party. Hopefully you can join us. Put a smile on your face. Someone else's. They deserve it. So do you. God bless. Thanks for listening. For intern Dom, for my partner, Baby J, I'm Doc. Peace.